What is going on, everybody, and welcome to my tutorial video for customizing your Firebase cloud messaging notification icons for Android. In this tutorial video, I'm going to be going over how you can change your default icon for notifications for your application and how you can even override those so you can have a specific icon and a different icon color for different types of notifications that come through. Now, this tutorial video is primarily geared towards people making Unity applications, but we will be using Android Studio for a good portion of the tutorial. So if you are making your own native application using Android Studio or something else, you should be able to follow along with most of the steps in this tutorial. And so the main reason that I'm making this tutorial is because online there wasn't really a whole lot of resources for customizing things like your notification icon. And I think that's something that's super important. For me, I'm currently working on a mobile game, and it's an asynchronous multiplayer game, so push notifications are a huge part of my game, and I want to be able to configure those notifications with specific icons instead of it just using the same icon as the application. And if you're watching this in the summer of 2018, I'm currently doing a alpha test for my game, and if you want to be a part of that, feel free to check the description below. And I'm also running a contest where if you win the most games in my alpha test, you will win a free video game of your choice. So again, check the description for more information on that. So before we get too deep into it, I just want to go over a couple prerequisites, some things that you need set up before following along in this tutorial video. Basically, you're definitely going to want to watch my first tutorial video, and that's the one where we go over setting up your Unity project and getting your Firebase project all set up and everything like that. And at that point, you should be able to send notifications from the Firebase console to a device. So that's the bare minimum that you're going to need for following along in this tutorial. If you have that set up, you're going to be able to configure the default icon and icon color just fine. But if you'd follow along with my second tutorial where we go over setting up a PHP script to actually send customizable notifications, then you're going to be able to take full advantage of this tutorial video, and I'm going to show you how we can make some edits to that PHP script so you can set which icon and icon color that you want to use for individual notifications that you're sending out. Again, for that you're going to need some sort of a web server setup. I'm just running Apache off my local host. So if you have a similar setup to that, that'll work just fine for this tutorial. And then the last thing that you're going to need is Android Studio. We're going to actually be starting this tutorial off in Android Studio and creating what's called an Android archive, which is basically just a zip file with a .aar extension. And that's what's going to hold our icons and icon colors. And we're going to take that plugin and import it over into Unity so our application can actually access those resources. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is this tutorial is sort of more geared towards Android Oreo. Basically, in Android Oreo, they sort of changed how notifications work. Now notifications, they're basically just a flat static image and they can only be one color. So just be aware of that. However, in older versions, you can have custom icons with as many colors as you'd like. And so if you find this video helpful at all, please give this video a like and be sure to subscribe to the channel. I have a whole bunch of more game development tutorials planned and a lot of cool independent game development content coming up. So definitely stay tuned for that. Of course, if you have any questions for me or running into any issues, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to help out. And so I think that's just about enough intro. So without further ado, let's jump right on into the tutorial. Okay, so we're going to get right on into it in just a sec here. We're actually going to be starting in Android Studio, but I did want to show off a few things in Unity here. And so the first thing that I wanted to show you is that after you import the Firebase messaging Unity package, it's going to create this plugins folder here, and there's going to be a couple things under it. So if you just go to this plugins and click on the Android folder, you're going to be seeing a bunch of these things, and they're Android archives. Basically, they're just a zip file with the .aar extension. And so we're going to be creating one in Android Studio, and you're going to see that we're going to create a little method to automatically update it into the bottom of this plugins folder right here. And the other thing I wanted to show off, and you probably already know this, is if you go to Edit, Project Settings, and Player, and we check on the Android settings here, you'll see there's the package name. And again, we just want to make sure that we know exactly what this is and we know exactly how we have it configured with the correct capitalizations and everything like that, because that's going to be very important when we move over to Android Studio. And then the absolute last thing that I wanted to show off is actually in the code of the Firebase notifications controller script. Basically, it is exactly the same as the last video that I created, except for one minor difference. I did upgrade to the Firebase SDK version 5.2.0, and it slightly changes the method for how you subscribe to a topic. So previously you did firebase.messaging.firebase.messaging.subscribe, and then you put the topic name in there. But now the method has changed to subscribe async, and it basically works exactly the same. So just know if you're on version 5.2.0 or greater, you're going to use the subscribe async. If you're anything under than that, just use the old subscribe method. All right, so now let's open up Android Studio, and we're going to just start a new Android Studio project, just with nothing in it at all. For our application name, we can just put FCM_helper. Now for company domain, again, we want to make sure this is exactly the same as we have it configured in Unity. I have it as all capitals, jtgd. .com, and I know it might be confusing that you do the company name and then .com afterwards, where over in Unity you have com first, but just make sure the package name down at the bottom is how it should be. Again, we're going to change these to all caps, jtgd. So just make sure that we have the company domain and package name set up correctly. Android project location can be wherever you prefer on your computer. Just go ahead and hit next here. Go ahead and target minimum API level of 15. That is just fine. We don't need any of this other stuff selected, so we'll just go hit next. And we're just going to be doing like a basic little helper here, so we don't need any activity. So just click the add no activity and finish, and Android Studio will generate our project for us now. All right, so we've created an empty project now, so obviously there's nothing on the screen. And so what we're going to want to do is create an Android library. So the way we're going to do that is go up here to File, New, and then New Module. Let's go ahead and click that, and a dialog window pops up. And we're going to make an Android library. So just go ahead and select Android library, hit next, and then we can call this library whatever we want, but I'm going to call it Notification Icons. For module name, I believe these need to be all lowercase, so we'll do notification_icons so we can read that. And again, our package name, let's make sure these are all caps here. So minimum SDK of API level 15, that's just fine. Go ahead and hit finish here. And you'll see it goes through its little build process here, and this will just take a second. And then once that's complete, we can just go ahead and click this project tab over on the left here, and this will pop open this little window, and make sure we have the Android thing selected, and then you'll see that we have app, and that's just for the main app. And here is just this new module that we created, the notification_icons, and you'll see there are some folder structure under it. Not going to be going too deep into all of this, but if you aren't seeing this, just go ahead and go up to File and then Sync Project with Gradle files, and then that'll just go ahead and run that little build process that was kicked off if it didn't do that automatically for you already. All right, so here we can actually use Android Studio to generate some icons for us. So we're going to be doing these in the drawable folder, which is under the notification icons module. Under the res folder, that's just this drawable. We're going to do a right click on drawable, and we're going to go to new and then vector asset. So we'll just go ahead and click on that, and you'll see this little dialog window that pops up here. And so we can actually click on this clip art thing here, and it'll open up another window, and there's all sorts of cool little icons that you can choose from. Many of these that you will recognize from using an Android, but there are all sorts of cool, different fun little things that you can use here. So just go ahead and select whichever one you'd like. I kind of like this little couch one, so we'll use that. Okay, and then so back in this window here, we can actually select a color here. So we can click this open, and you can go ahead and change the brightness and pick whichever kind of color you want. Kind of like this orange here, so we'll do that. make yourself a nice little orange couch here. So we can just leave the file name as is, but I'm just going to go ahead and change this to orange_couch. Note that you cannot use capital letters here. You'll get an error here. So again, all lowercase, you can use underscores, that's just fine. So we'll just go ahead and hit next, and then make sure that it's going into main res folder, drawable, and then this orangecouch.xml. So just go ahead and hit finish, and you'll see over in our project view here, the orangecouch.xml is under that folder. Now, if you want, you can put your own custom icon. You can use a PNG file, and I'll leave a link in the description below for all the specifications of how big it needs to be for different display types. But it basically just needs to be a square PNG file. But we can just do a right click and press show in Explorer, and then that will open up this Explorer window here. So we'll just go ahead and dive into the drawable folder, and then really we can bring over any PNG file that we want. So I have this gear one. We'll just bring this gear in here. So it's just a square gear PNG. Come back to Android Studio, and we'll see that we have the gear and the orange couch here. All right, so this next step you're only going to want to do if you want to change the default color for your icons. I would recommend having a default color just so if something crazy happens down the line, you have something to fall back on. So under this values folder, you'll see this strings.xml. We're actually going to make another XML file. So just go ahead and right click on values, and then we'll go to new, and then down to XML. And we're going to make a values XML file. And the values file name, we're going to do colors, and just hit finish. And you'll see it pops open this colors.xml folder here. So we'll just give ourselves some space, and then we're going to create just a little color object here. So we'll say color, and then for name, we'll put default notification color, close the bracket. And then here's where we actually define the color. So we'll do the number sign, and then this color is a nice navy blue. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, an 8, and another 0. You'll see there actually is a little preview of the color right here. So if we were to say maybe change this to FF, now we get a nice bright green. But we'll leave it at this navy blue. I think that's a good color. Now just keep in mind this default color will only happen on Android Oreo and newer. For older ones, it's just going to take the raw image, and it's just going to be whatever color that image is. All right, so now we basically have all the assets set up that we need to display our notifications in Unity. There are just a few things that we need to get set up so we can actually build this AAR file and transfer it over to Unity. So down here in the lower left corner, we're going to click on the Build Variants tab. And then for our notification icons module, we're just going to go ahead and change this to release, just because we don't need this to worry about if it's the debug version or the release version. We'll just have Unity worry about the debug and release version. So the next thing that we're going to need to do is modify the Gradle script for the notification icons. So just under Gradle script here, we're going to make sure that we're modifying the notification icons build.gradle file, not the apps one, not the project one, but this individual module one. So just double click on that to open it, and you see there are some things set up for us already. So we're just going to go under the dependencies here and add a little method called copy plugin. Now what this plugin does is it takes the assembled AAR file from our Android Studio project and then copies it over into our Unity project. So we start with task copy plugin, and the type is copy. And if you don't want to type this whole thing out, I've included a paste bin link in the description so you can just copy and paste this into your own build.gradle file. But basically you just need the lines depends on assemble from build/outputs/AAR, and that's where your AAR file will live after it is assembled. And then the line into, and this is the direct path to your Unity project, and then you just want to do /assets/plugins/Android, just so it goes to the correct location in your Unity project. And then the final line, we just put include project name plus release.aar. So again, all this task does is take the AAR file that we generated and copy it over into our Unity project. You'll see that since our Gradle file has changed since the last sync, a sync will be necessary. So just go ahead and hit the sync now. And you'll see it goes through a little build process here. Make sure everything is completed with no errors, of course. Now, that doesn't mean that our project has been copied over yet. We actually need to call that method. And the way we do that is we go to this drop down here where it says app, and we're going to edit configurations here. So a little window pops up, and we're going to hit the green plus sign and then click on Gradle here. So for Gradle project, we can click on this little folder and make sure we click our notification icons. For tasks, we're going to type in the copy plugin, and you'll see it auto-populates. And just so we have a nice name for this, we can call this whatever we want. So we'll do copy plugin. And just go ahead and hit OK down here. And you'll see up in this drop down here where it previously said app, we now have the copy plugin selected. So when we hit the play button here, you'll see that the build process begins. And this is actually creating the AAR file, and then it's going to copy that AAR file over into our Unity project. So we'll just give this a second to complete here. All right, and now that it's completed, we'll pop back over to Unity, and you'll see that in our Android plugins folder, we have this brand new notification underscore icons dash release. And so this is an AAR file, and so we can just click on it. One thing that we do want to make sure is it says select platforms for plugin. Just want to make sure that Android is selected here so Unity knows how to properly process that plugin file. So that's basically how you create an Android archive and bring it over into Unity. Now I'm going to show you how we actually set our default icon for notifications here. So we're going to be doing that in the Android manifest file. So just go ahead and open that up, and we're going to be editing it. So your Android manifest file should look something like this. And so here's where we actually set the default notification icon. We're going to do it outside of the main activity. So you'll see the main activity starts here and then ends here. So we're going to be just putting in these two metadata tags. So the first one is metadata, and the name of it is com.google.firebase.messaging.default notification icon, and we're going to set that Android resource to @drawable/gear. This is just that gear icon that I brought in, and we're going to be using that as the default icon here. And so note that there is no file extension necessary. And then the next line, this metadata Android name, this is where we configure the default notification color. And here we do the @color/default notification color. So just remember, this is that color that we set up in the XML file over in Android Studio. So once you've made all your changes, go ahead and save that, go back over to Unity, and now we are all ready to create a build of our game. So now that we have the application installed and running on our device, we just need to make some slight modifications to our sendNotification.php script so the notification can contain all the brand new icon and color information that we need. So here is the structure of our notification. For the title, I have new game mode available now. For the body, I have grab a friend and try out the brand new couch co-op mode today. And because it's the couch co-op mode, we're going to want to have the icon of the couch. So we'll just type in orange couch. Again, we do not put the file extension here, we just put the name of the file. And then for color, we're going to override the default color that we set and put this FF000, which should give us a bright red couch. So just go ahead and save our changes here. So on our device, we're going to open up our application and just make sure that we are receiving a device token here. We'll go ahead and hit the home, and we'll go back over to our computer here and just pop open a web browser, and we'll navigate to our local host, the sendNotification.php script. Again, right when we hit enter, it'll send a notification. And you'll see over on the device, if we scroll down here, we're going to see a nice bright red couch. And so I'll show you the different configurations that we can make here. So if we go back to our sendNotification.php script, we can comment out these things that we don't need right now. So for example, if we want to comment out the icon, we can go ahead and save that. This means that we're not overriding the icon, so it'll just revert to the default. So we'll just go ahead and refresh this page here. And you'll see that it's showing the default icon of the gear that we had set in our Android manifest file. Back over here, let's just go ahead and comment out both the icon and color, so it will revert to the default. Go ahead and save that file and go back and refresh our page. And we'll get another notification, and this is the full default. We have both the default color, which is navy blue, and the icon, which is the gear. And of course, the last configuration that we can make is leave the icon with the default color. So we'll save that, refresh, and you'll see now that we have all four different configurations that we can make. So we have the default color and the default icon. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Again, we set the default icon to the gear and the default color to navy blue. And in my script, I was overwriting the default icon to the couch icon, and I was overwriting the default color to bright red. So you can see how it is pretty easy to make changes once you have all that stuff set up. And so you will notice that in Android Oreo, it's only going to have the color that you overwrite in your PHP script, or just the default that you have in your Android manifest file. It's never going to use the original color of the icon. So even though we set it to that cool orange over in Android Studio, you're not actually going to see it in that orange color. However, you will see it in that orange color if you are using a device that is older than Android Oreo. Alright, so that's going to wrap up this month's tutorial video on configuring your notification icons for your Firebase cloud messaging notifications. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial video and found it useful. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like, and also feel free to subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of really cool content planned coming up, a bunch of things related to Firebase cloud messaging and integrating Android and Unity together to do some cool things. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments section below. If you think there's anything I can do better, or if you have any suggestions for future topics, also drop those down in the comments section below. And with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.